Hello my friends, this is Gladys again, just following our tutorials or series of tutorials for the accordion tag box. And let me do a little bit of a recap of what you've had in tutorial 1 and 2 so far. On those ones I gave you the measurements how to create your envelopes that you will be using, and you needed to create 10 of them. And we may not use all 10 of them, but you know, might as well go ahead and make 10 of them. We might use 9 or 8, I'm still not sure, because I tweaked with the measurements. I think I mentioned that before. So you should have all these ones done this way, the way they, you know, all finished and ready to go, and then we're going to trim them as we talked about it before. For this particular tutorial, we are going to add all these pieces to the actual paper that is going to be on the outside of the box. And last time we spoke, I explained to you how I was going to measure. Let me see if I can move, like from, let me move this a little further. Like this is about 12, right? Like 12 by 12 sheets. And I measured from here to here, and it was about 5 inches. Well, I took that off. And we talked about how we're going to use it to line the inside of the box. So again, there's no wasting. But at this point, what you're going to need is to have all your pieces cut out, your 5 pieces, and to have your designer or pattern paper already joined and ready to go, cut and ready to go. And let me go over the measurements one more time. Number 1, it's called front overlap, and it measures 4.5 by 4.5 inches. The top is 4.5 by 2 3/4. Number 3 is the back of the box, and it's 7 by 4.5. The bottom of the box, it's 4.5 by 2 3/4. And number 5, you have front bottom of the box, and it is 5 inches by 4.5. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's easier if I number them and label them this way. Otherwise, it just get, you know, it can get a little bit confusing, and you know, put the back one in the front and vice versa. We don't want to do that. So, okay, they are ready to go, and I have some white glue, just in here in the little container. You're going to need a medium-sized brush for this one, and mine is all ready to go. I'm using tacky glue on this one, and what I'm going to do is just wet the back part of my chipboards. Oh, this is really thick. Alright, let's see. Just a second here. But I do like to use the wet one for this one, because I do want this box to be, once it dries completely, to be very, very solid, okay? And we're going to leave about 3/4 of an inch from on top. Yeah, not quite half an inch, but about 3/4 of an inch right there, because that's going to give you enough room for us to play down here, and enough to have a little bit to overlap. And if you have doubts as to how much you should have, you can see we're going to be leaving about maybe between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch in between them, because remember that box, it's, you know, it's going to be a corner, so we want to make sure that we don't tear it in any way. We want to give it enough room to wiggle. Alright, let's keep adding glue. And as you can tell, they were numbered on the other side, and so easy to make mistakes, but remember, you still have another side, so that's how I got through that one. Alright, so we're going to leave about, I think about 1/8, because we want to make sure to go this way. Yeah, about that much. Let's see if you can see the, I'm going to see if I can zoom in. See, it's very little. So when you turn this up, you know that it's going to be completely sealed that way. So they you know, make a perfect corner. That's exactly what we want. Well, that's the space that you should have in between them. And if you don't know how to space them, this is what you can do. You know, you get any other piece of the same chipboard, put it in the middle, and then add it to there, and you know that you got it all correctly. That's another one, another kind of a cheating method of doing that, but you know, over the course of many mistakes, I've kind of learned that, and I don't always remember to, you know, fix it that way, but it's a good way of measuring the space in between your chipboards. Right. Yeah, we definitely don't want to go this way, huh? Alright. And I just kind of eyeball them because, you know, I've done this enough times that I feel comfortable enough to do it. Alright, some more glue. Okay, that's the bottom. And it's easy to rearrange them, so don't worry too much about it. I mean, you don't really need this much, but this glue is very thick. It's that tacky glue, and it's just heavy. But it dries okay, and it'll be very, very firm. Alright. So we have about the same amount of space on top right here. Let me zoom out. Right there. So we have about the same amount of space between the top of the chipboard and the bottom. So that's exactly what we wanted. And now carefully, and I know that you know, I'm using the tacky glue is obviously very tacky. So I know I can do this now and be able to just rub it and rub it. I like to get a piece of paper and just go at it, okay? Because I want to make sure that that glue starts activating between the chipboard and the paper. And we don't want to have any bubbles, so that's another way that this paper kind of helps along. See, like there's a crease already in there. So what I'm going to do is turn this again, and I'm going to start working these corners because I want to see how much play I have, and it looks like I'm doing okay. Good, doing okay. You don't want to give it too much that you have, or you're going to start forming wrinkles within the paper, but you definitely, most important, do not want to leave it so tight that you can't even lift, because for sure you will tear the paper. And, you know, more likely you're going to have to restart your process all over again with a new paper. So we don't want to do that. So this glue is pretty good for that. And the wetness of it allows for the paper to kind of expand a little bit too. I do know that some papers tend to crack once you start adhering them, or if you bend them. I do know that if you just slightly make them humid, they become more workable. Alright, so this is basically the way it's going to work. Okay, so that will be the bottom, and this will be here, okay? This is how we're going to, you know, do the box. Alright. Alright, we're going to allow this to dry. I want to make sure that this paper is well cemented into the chipboard, and it looks like it is, but I just want to make sure that it truly is. And then we're going to start working on our corners, and then, you know, flipping the page or the paper in so we can start lining the front, and you're pretty much home after that. So, alright, we'll talk to you in a little bit.